Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Ugandan podcast. I am Rita Kanyamujuni, your host for this particular episode, and I am joined by Mr. Ramathan Ggoobi, who is from the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. He is the Permanent Secretary and the Secretary to the Treasury from that ministry. And of course, if we're having him here on the Ugandan podcast, that means we are talking everything about our economy, where we stand as a country, which direction it is going, and where you and I come in to contribute to the economy. Yes, there's something we can do. Welcome to the Ugandan podcast.
Thank you very much, Rita.
Now, joining us would start from one place, which is where do we stand as a country when it comes to our economy? There are things we've had a few years before. It was mentioned that we attained middle income status. And then it was also announced earlier on this year that we had now finally attained it. Some have called it middle, they have called it other names, but this particular time, it went without any excitement. There was no buzz. It just so happened that we moved along. But what does it mean for us as a country and for any Ugandan to have attained middle income status? Now I'm saying the middle, the way some other people have been saying it, but what does it mean?
Thank you. First of all, I'll give the status of the economy today. And then I give some few indicators which actually point to the fact that we are moving in the right direction. That's the most important thing. Number one, the economy of Uganda has fully, as my ministers severally told the country and the president, recovered from the challenges we are facing at the beginning of 2020, when COVID came. Then after COVID, we had a number of other challenges. We have had Ebola, we've had floods, we have had drought, we've had wars in the international arena and in the region. We've had all sorts of challenges affecting our economy. But last year, we managed to grow at 6%. And this year, we are projecting between 6 and 7%. And these numbers I'm giving, they may sound just numbers to an ordinary soul.
Yes.
But they mean a lot in terms of the well-being of people, because a growth rate of 6% is one of the highest, not only in the region, but in the world. It shows you that our economic activities have improved, and the Ugandans are getting more money. They are improving their well-being. When we talk of other indicators like inflation, the rate at which the prices were rising, you remember a year or two ago, every Ugandan was worried about the speed at which prices were increasing. Yeah. Prices of food, prices of the general, merchandise people use, cooking oil, laundry bar, soap, salt, and so on. I'm talking of basic goods.
Yes.
But now we managed to reduce that inflation, and now we have seen the last year an average of 3.2%. Our average inflation rate to keep Ugandans happy, at least affording the goods, is about 5%. So we are below that inflation rate.
Yeah.
And want to keep it below. Last month we were at 3.5. We want to keep it within that target going forward. And it shows we are going to achieve that. The value of the shilling. Our shilling has been stable against major currencies, and it has depreciated at the lowest rate compared to any other currency in the region. And as a result of that, we've seen also our exports rising. Because when a country's currency is stable, people will buy more your goods. Our coffee, our tea, our agricultural produce, leave alone the minerals and so on. I want to talk about the goods which are produced by average Ugandans. Yes. We have exported more. Last year, our exports jumped to 3 billion. And this is helping the economy to bring in also more dollars into the country, to stabilize our shilling even much more. We have also seen interest rates, the rate at which people are borrowing money, stabilizing and reducing. The lending rate is an average of 17.8%. Still high, because people would want to borrow money at 5% and so on. But where we are coming from, it shows you that we are in the right direction of reducing these lending rates. And these rates are still relatively high because of some factors beyond our control. The global interest rates are high. You'll find our financial market is still a bit narrow. It's not as deepened and as we would have loved. Ugandans are saving less than we should be saving. And as a result of that, banks have mainly short-term money. When I talk of foreign direct investment as another indicator, many foreigners have set up businesses in Uganda.
Yes.
Last year we had FDI inflow of about $3.01 billion, mainly in oil and gas, but also in agribusiness, in manufacturing, in construction, in a spectrum of areas. And when these foreigners come and set up business, very good for Uganda. They create jobs. They create economic activity. Like when he sets up, somebody builds, for example, a hotel, is likely to buy food from Ugandans, is going to employ younger people from school to work in that hotel, and so on and so forth. So it creates more opportunities in the economy. And these $3 billion which came in have led to so many other billions to be created through what we call the multiplier effect. And finally, I should also talk about the remittances. Ugandans who are working abroad, living and working abroad, have continued and increased the amount of money they send home. You are talking of upwards of $1.4 billion. Those Ugandans have invested in a number of activities. They send money home into construction, into small businesses, and so on and so forth. And this is why Uganda now is among countries in the developing Africa here that have not had any challenge with the dollars. You know, in some of our neighboring countries, they tell you there is no dollar. In Uganda, you cannot fail to get a dollar if you don't have anything you are selling in a dollar. But if you want, you just access it on the market. Now, finally, turning to your question, as a result of these improvements, we've seen now the economy growing in size and in opportunities. The size of the economy now is 202 trillion shillings. That is about an equivalent of $53 billion, coming from about $48 billion. And our per capita income has crossed $1,114. So if we agreed as Ugandans to share our economy equally, each Ugandan would get about $1,114. And this means that, and that's in real terms, this means that we are more or less there as far as the middle income status is concerned. But for me, I don't want us to be obsessed with the middle income, but its implications in terms of the well-being of people, in terms of the opportunities that come with it, in terms of the economy creating more opportunities. And that's where my concern is.
Well, when we talk about that concern that you mentioned, that tangible, looking at what we can actually, that well-being that you mentioned, what would it be? What would we be seeing? What kind of Ugandan, what kind of Ugandan do you see that we should also be seeing from our perspective?
Number one, we have reduced the pace at which we are dying. Now the life expectancy of a Ugandan has increased to over 64 years. About 20 years ago, Ugandans were having a life expectancy of about 52 years. That when you are 52, you should die. Or if you are living, you're on bonus. Anytime you may die. If you are clocking 52, you start to get worried because now it is about 64 years. Those who die below 64 years, it's an accident. They shouldn't be dying. Those who are above 64, they're in bonus, but the average is about 64 and rising. It's because of the improved standards of living. Healthcare, you'll find some measures like infant mortality has gone down, maternal mortality, mothers now giving birth in a more safer way than they used to 20 years ago because of investment in healthcare, primary healthcare especially. You'll find that morbidity, the rate at which people fall sick has reduced because government has invested in more, safer sources of water, in eliminating malaria, or fighting malaria. Of course, still it's a big challenge, the mosquitoes, but we distribute nets to households that children especially and mothers should sleep in mosquito, treated nets. And also investing in agriculture so that people can have balanced diets and so on. There are certain things we take for granted, but these are the implications of middle income. When a country gets richer, households get more income. They are likely, first of all, to educate them more, and educated, population tends to have less challenges in terms of health care, in terms of the survival instincts. It's educated people who will cross the road in a proper way. So you will reduce what people call accidents. They will walk on the right side of the road. They will not drink contaminated water. They will boil it. Those who are not educated, they will tell you boiled water actually is not nutritious. So they compete with the ecosystem for water. And so now that's why education is so critical, and government has been investing in free education. Some Ugandans are so interesting. I could hear some people calling themselves leaders saying, this UPE is a waste of money because the quality is poor and so on. Let me tell you, anyone who goes to a primary school, even if it is a UPE school, learns, for example, the killer diseases to immunize against. They learn how to survive. And even if they don't learn to become sophisticated scientists and so on, the country will get better. Themselves, they will get better. And this is what middle income. So when we talk of these economic numbers and facts, they point to one thing, the welfare of people.
Okay, but one would say from the reports that they see in the media, for someone who's watching or listening to the podcast, they'll say, but we still see that a number of things are falling short, that it's not trickling down to the omuntu wawansi, as some call them. The welfare might have improved for some, but for many, they continue to struggle with a number of things that you mentioned in terms of basic things like just getting drugs at a hospital. Being able to finish a school year, and actually maybe if a child has gone through primary, do they get to primary 7? Are there dropouts? That kind of thing continues to exist. And one would say maybe the middle income status is stopping in some parts of Kampala.
No. Development is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Societies transform, but over time. They are like us human beings. You don't expect your child you have produced today to grow up and run and get married in 1 year. It takes time. And even in the same family, where there is one mother and one father, you'll find that the children will vary in size. Not because the mothers are favoring some and leave out others. that Rita is taller than her sister. No, but because certain also dynamics happen. I want to tell you that fundamentally the bottom line is Uganda is getting better. And as you develop also, as you grow, you'll find that some numbers will be lagging behind. But we pull them through affirmative action. For example, some regions in Uganda will grow much faster, like a Greater Kampala metropolitan area will grow faster because it's the center of the economy of Uganda. About almost 2/3 of the economy is here in the Greater Kampala. But government has put up a deliberate program to have regional development by taking certain affirmative action programs to other parts of Uganda. When you look at the north, you'll find that we have a number of programs which are directed towards ensuring that the north can also have some share. That's why we take some projects. We are now working on Atiaka sugar. Some people who are not conscious of this, especially a few less informed leaders and analysts, you find them, government is wasting money on Atiaka sugar. Government is wasting money on this business of tea. Government is wasting money on coffee in some area. Government is wasting money on Soroti fruit factory. But government is deliberate in terms of getting those as stimulants. They stimulate the economy of those areas because if you left it to the market, every investor will want to set up their factory in Greater Kampala. Every other person will want to stay in Kampala. That's where there's a disco, that's where there are lights, that's where life is. So you need to get things which will attract someone to say, let me go to Soroti now. Because you have put up a Soroti fruit factory, somebody wants to take advantage of the opportunities it is creating there. All of a sudden you find now other smaller businesses setting up. Yeah. So as a result of that, I want to assure Ugandans that these unequal growth episodes, with the time they will, go down. Of course, Kampala will remain the big city. They call them the first city. But now we have regional cities coming up. When you go to Gulu now, Gulu has actually more life these days than Kampala.
That's true.
Some people are driving over the weekend to go to Gulu to dance from there
and then
return over the weekend.
Yeah.
You look at Fort Portal, you look at Soroti, you look at Mbale, you look at different parts, Mbarara, and so on. These cities that are coming up will create more opportunities for all Ugandans, such that we have a broad-based economy growing and working for everybody.
Okay. Where would you say at the moment the challenges lie when it comes to that direction that we are going as a country? That you mentioned, that steady progress, we are going there. But where do the challenges continue to come up on this journey?
The first key challenge, I think, for me, is the low revenue government is able to collect. We are collecting about 14% of GDP. Our peers, the countries that are like us, are collecting about 16 to 18%. When you extend a bit to Africa, the average of sub-Saharan Africa is about 22% of GDP, and it's the lowest in the world. When you talk of now, the average for the world is in the upwards of 30%. OECD, those developed countries, the UK, the US, those countries where Ugandans want to go and compare Uganda with, they say, why don't they have roads like the ones I saw in UK, in Dubai, in Singapore, wherever I hear these conversations. Those people are paying an average of 38% of GDP in tax revenue. You can't have good services when the government does not have the resources to provide those services. And when government fails to provide those services, then it collects also lower revenue.
Yeah.
So it becomes a cycle. And to break this cycle, therefore, we are now working on domestic revenue mobilization. We have a strategy in town. We are enforcing it. That's why we are not apologetic on certain things we are doing, and I would want Ugandans to understand them. Recently, they were talking IFRIS. IFRIS. Some people had even baptized it a new tax. But this is a system to help us ensure that everybody who makes money can pay some money to government, so that if everybody pays little, we can end up collecting more. And once we have revenue, we shall provide better services. That's challenge number one. Challenge number two is climate change. We are still predominantly an agrarian economy, depending on growing coffee, growing beans and potatoes and in kabale and so on and so forth. Grazing our animals, free range. You go and start somewhere in the west there. They only fence and leave them there. But now when the weather is changing, climate is changing, rain is delayed, when they come, it's as if all the rains of the world have converged to Uganda and they flood. This affects agriculture. That's why we are now working as government to restore the environment, wetlands, forests. You've had the president issuing some directives, executive orders. No more burning charcoal in the north. No more, industries and residents taking up space in wetlands and so on. But also, even adapt. Our new development agenda is to adapt. As you do the growth, think about the environment. So we are going green in most places. We are greening up, even in our financing. You have a greener business, you will find it easier to get money. We have also a challenge of the global conditions, which have changed. We have wars, but also we have the interest rates, which are very high, and access to money becomes difficult. All governments all over the world, except very few, borrow money. But the rate at which you borrow matters. And this rate has been increasing in recent years. So we are working in ensuring that we reduce on external borrowing and we use our own resources much more than we're using it.
Yes. Well, when you speak about the external borrowing, it takes us to the debt that we're currently dealing with as a country and how, yes, with the domestic collection of the revenue here, and how eventually it's not enough, but we still have this burden that we have to deal with. And now we are turning to me, the Ugandan, and whoever is watching or listening. When we take a look at the fact that, yes, we have achieved the middle income status, and that means for us to even get any more external borrowing, most of those who would be giving to us would say, you have now reached the point where you can sustain yourselves, or can be able to at least foot some of these particular areas. So then where do we turn to? Where are you as a ministry turning to bring in the Ugandan, the ordinary Ugandan, and how do I come in?
Okay. First of all, I want to start by telling Ugandans that we are among a few countries in the world that have a sustainable debt position. Our debt is still one of those where we are comfortable to pay. We have never defaulted and we shall never default. Why? Because we have kept within the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility. We have stayed away from bad debt. I know most of the politicians have made Ugandans believe that our debt position is very bad. Because wherever I'm talking about the economy, people of Uganda are worried about debt. I want to assure everybody that we are very much in charge of every number that we borrow. We borrow well. We don't go for bad debt. In Uganda, we don't do, for example, Eurobonds. Eurobonds, they are like money lenders, you know, to make someone understand. You borrow today from someone, he tells you, you will pay me 2% per day. Oh, you say 2%?
It's possible. We can
small.
do it. Yeah.
But now a year has 360 days. When you multiply,
By that too.
it's an obscene debt you have got. In Uganda, we avoided such debts. Number two, we borrow mainly long-term, concessional debt. The biggest proportion of our debt is concessional. True, when we started building infrastructure to bridge the infrastructure gap, we got some commercial debt. But as a proportion of the total debt portfolio is still very low. Its cost is higher than the concessional debt. True, the money we pay per year as repayment of our debt has increased to about 33% of our revenue. But this is still one of the lowest when you compare to other countries. And we can afford to say, is it better to have no electricity and you are not paying any debt? You sit there in your darkness. You don't even produce anything because electricity is what now we are using to produce manufactured goods that we export. Uganda now is an export of manufactured goods. A few years ago, we were importing most of those goods we are talking about, from construction materials to fast-moving goods. I don't know whether Ugandans really as observant about their country as I am. A few years ago, when I could enter a supermarket, I would go and look at these products there, one by one, and everything, I even wrote an article. Everything in our supermarket is made in some way except Uganda. I challenge every Ugandan now to go to a supermarket. Go and check the goods in there. You will be amazed. The rate at which we've replaced the imports. Then check our export numbers as well. You will find goods which had never featured there. We exporting construction material, cement, steel. We export beer, we export soap, we export things which we used to import. Now we are exporters of those goods to our neighbors and beyond. We export even pharmaceutical products, sophisticated products, medicines to cure HIV, malaria, and so on. They are made here, and then we export to as far as Zimbabwe, Malawi, and so on. That did not come from praying too much or miracles. It came because we borrowed some money, invested in electricity, generating dams, invested in industrial parks, invested in a road network to connect the country, attracted people who have capital, because our problem as Uganda, we don't have capital. So they came, set up factories here. Now we are net exporters of some of these manufactured goods. And for me, we shouldn't be worried about the debt. We should be just worried about how effectively are we utilizing this money as Ugandans. How effectively are we taking advantage? Instead of people being there analyzing debt, look at opportunities. Where are the opportunities created by this money government has borrowed and invested? And take advantage of these opportunities in agriculture, in industry, in tourism, in mineral development, in IT, in innovation. Many younger people are taking advantage, but many of them also are just joining the lamenters. And for me, that's the challenge. And
Yes.
I would want people to see these opportunities and take advantage.
Well, when you say the utilization, now there are young people, I beg your pardon, who would say, there's actually an opportunity for me here. But for me to be able to maybe get that opportunity, I need an education in this and this. And this is where we go to. Yes, like you say, the money has been acquired. How is it being utilized? Do we feel that the resource allocation is going where it needs to be, and is it reaching every person? Because I know that you have listened to the lamenters, you have listened to those who have maybe said a thing or two every time that the budget is being read, saying maybe this is not where we should be going, the direction. What do you say about that?
I want to tell you that the budget of Uganda is very responsive to people's needs and to where opportunities are. We are spending now 1.1 trillion shillings on parish development model. Because we are responding to what? To financial exclusion. The people at the base of the pyramid, in the villages there, people who are engaging in growing some potatoes in Kabali and onions, people who are just hunting a few wild animals in West Nile or somewhere, people who are growing a few food products across the country. They are eating. Many Ugandans. By the way, Ugandans, we eat well. That's why even broke people, they look healthy, and you may think actually they have money. We have the food, but we don't have the resources to invest. And I want to tell you, Rita, there are two opportunity equalizers in life. One is education, another is financial inclusion. If you educate me and you give me access to finance, you have halfway solved my lifetime challenges. And that's what government is doing. There is that group of people who had been left out in financial inclusion. They have been excluded. No bank can give them money. And also, even family members don't want to. Someone remained in the village. Some other family members got educated. They moved to the town. So they leave them there. So we said, no, those are the people we want to include first. So we are on full monetization now, agenda. And that's the core objective of the PDM. Get every household a minimum investment and just give it to them. You will see the amazing things they can do with it. And the results have started to come back. Ugandans have gone into production, into ensuring that they can start some enterprise at family level. And when you accumulate that, you put them cumulatively together, you are getting a bigger local economy. We have also invested now more money in women and the youth. We have a number of programs. I don't want to repeat them because government, we have been singing them. And people out there are taking advantage in Emioga, in women, entrepreneurship, in the youth livelihood. Now we have brought also Grow for Women and others. All of these are through the budget. We have now moved into repurposing the budget from consumptive areas into productive areas, wealth creation. That's why wealth creation programs have gotten more money. And as a result of that, this is the growth you are seeing. This growth does not come out of nothing. Not every economy has grown in the last year at the pace at which Ugandan economy grew. It's because the budget has been responsive and put money in those areas. I have one problem, and I repeat it. Some people, they have turned themselves into full-time analysts of problems instead of looking for opportunities. Those who are looking for opportunity, by the way, don't talk because they are busy. They are busy taking advantage. They are busy, starting a business and running it. I would like the youth, especially the youth who have left school, and those who are still in school, because I remember I've been teaching in university since I left my first degree until I came to government. These young people, maybe because I was in a business school, you could find them amazing. He's a student, but at the same time, he has started a business. In school, in the lecture room.
Yeah. He's running a business.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had the ladies, I could see selling handbags to there. And I ask them, say, sir, I get some handbags from UK, and I sell them. And I make it. And now the entrepreneurs, I meet them. But then there were those ones whose main job was to find out what is not working in moves. That's their full-time job. Others are busy taking advantage of the numbers and the environment. Others are. So likewise, I would like to encourage you, young Ugandans, that now you have an opportunity. You are having a government. President Museveni's main preoccupation. That's why I want to ask anyone whether in the last 4 years, for example, has had the president talking politics, is talking wealth creation. Even when he goes to give a State of a Nation address, I've been always, watching this. Some people, like his political opponents, think he should be analyzing things which are not working, reporting on how this is happening and the other is not happening. For him, he comes to talk about wealth creation, PDM, Emioga, women enterprises, and so on and so forth, exports, industrial parks. And this shows you that, and this is the top level, the head of state. His speeches, I want you to go and download them and analyze them. You'll find that almost 3/4 of the speech content is on wealth creation. That's deliberate. That shows you that government is showing people in the direction where they should be. You can talk about some politics and some music and but at the end of the day, when you stop talking or you get tired, you need some money, you need some food. And so I would want to see more people taking advantage of the opportunities.
Well, there's that person who will also say, but more attention and more favorability is given to the foreign investor. And then there's this Ugandan, the entrepreneur who's trying all they can, left, right, and center. Because the truth is, like you mentioned, we're very enterprising. If one business fails, we're going to try another, we'll try another. A number of people who are listening, watching will say, yes, we're in office, but there's also this other side hustle I'm trying at the same time. But we feel that the government is not seeing us when it comes to our struggle.
I sit in an office where my interface every day is with people who are creating wealth. And I want to tell you, most of actually the beneficiaries of government incentives are Ugandans. But we don't advertise them.
Can we talk about them for a moment?
The Ugandan is investing in priority sectors of the economy. If you want government to support you, please go and read the government policy documents, listen to us when we are speaking, and take advantage of what we are saying. Currently, government wants people of Uganda, wherever they are, to engage in agro-industrialization, in tourism, in mining, in science, technology, innovation, and ICT. Government would also want the people of Uganda to look at the service sector, all the entire chain of service sector, in transport, in banking, in insurance, in retail, and so on. You will go and look at all of the policy and legal documents. They are full of incentives. They are written in there. If you want to make money, don't you go to China to bring a final product.
Yes.
And your job is to hawk it around. I will come and get tax from you. I will not give you anything as government, because I'm not here to support the other economy. I'm here to support this economy. But if you went to China to bring a machine to produce that very product you were importing the previous year, I'll give you 100% exemption of your plant. You will bring it for free. On top of that, if you fail to find somewhere to set up your small factory, I'll give you land. I'll look for it as government. I will even provide you with the money to invest in the working capital and so on. I'll ask UDB or your microfinance support center or some other source to get you money. And there are so many Ugandans, hundreds of thousands, who are doing that. We shall not come to the Ugandan podcast to start outlining and mentioning their names.
Yes.
Because these are business people, and you know business hates noise.
Business likes to make money.
Noise, you have killed business. We leave them to flourish. Government does not even come to say, we want a share. No. You go, make money. The more you grow, the better for Uganda, because you will employ more people, you will also create more other businesses and so on. And there are so many Ugandans who want to tell you, Rita, who are taking advantage. Those are the businesses you see around. They are taking advantage. But then, as I've told you, and I repeat, there are those others whose job is to sit down every morning and look at a screen and start to say, what should I type?
And they just come for this direction.
We are dying of debt.
Yes.
The taxes are killing us. Actually, the people who don't pay taxes the
ones complaining the most, the loudest.
If you ask about the tax codes, they can't even tell you. But they are talking about tax. I would want us Ugandans really to see opportunities, stop seeing problems everywhere. Opportunities will come to you.
Well, now let's look at 2025-2026, the financial year that is yet to come, and how the conversation has already started happening. Earlier in September, a conversation started from the Ministry of Finance itself about how you're looking to each Ugandan when it comes to investing in things like bonds, to see in the long term how, as a country, we can be able to support ourselves. Yes. So let's now look at that Ugandan.
Okay.
Yes.
The contribution a Ugandan can make, like through ox saving.
Going, of course, the sente zo.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, government, we've been diversifying even our sources of financing. Traditionally, it is tax and debt. But now we have entered into PPPs, public-private partnerships. But also those ones are a little bit big.
Yes. Look at the smaller.
People.
Yeah.
Then we said, what about this small person on the street, in the village, he has his 20K, as they usually call it. And he would want also to partake in the development of Uganda. So we have designed several pro-people programs of getting engaged and involved in the economy. Okusevinga is being finalized to get the central bank and my ministry create an avenue through which small people like a boda guy or someone who's vending or working in a garage can get his small money, get to the phone, and go and purchase a government security. He invests for a year. They give him some interest. Of course, when you have smaller money, you'll get smaller interest. Yes. But at the end of the day, you'll find that you can end up as a country mobilizing more money at a lower rate. This required preparation of legal regulatory frameworks because you are dealing with the people's money, and this is small money cumulatively brought together. Administrative cost is quite high. Those are the things which we are fine-tuning and Okusevinga starts. But as I've told you, we've created several platforms through which smaller people can participate in the economy. With diagnosed what is the problem. The first problem is capital. Many people have ideas. They don't have capital. Those who have capital don't have ideas, but there is no place where they can meet.
Yes, there's no middle ground for them.
To say, may I have idea, bring your money. And you know Ugandans, we are individualistic. Even in a family, you find the husband and the wife, they don't want to open one account. They have two accounts, paying.
Everyone for himself.
Costs.
Yeah.
One is owning a kiosk A, another a kiosk B. They can't merge together to create a grocery, a relatively bigger grocery. Even brothers, one has a boda, another one has a boda. They can't bring them together to buy a car and make more money. So we are saying, let us encourage these Ugandans through a framework which can, for example, provide capital for them, but also provide BDS, business development services, to train them on how to manage business. And we are working with Enterprise Uganda and other entities, URSB also providing the services of registering small businesses, and so that we create an ecosystem which makes lives of Ugandans easier in getting their role in the big economy pronounced. So your question is valid, and as government we are figuring out ways through which this typical Ugandan, a smaller person, can participate productively in the economy.
Now, let's talk about digitalization. As the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, the digitalization transformation roadmap was launched, and every part of government was expected to, in one way or another, find their way in on the 5 pillars. And of course, the Ministry of Finance is part of it. Would like to know how far you've gotten with it, how you're finding footing.
Our main contribution in everything in this economy is to look for money. Look for money, put it in the budget, support Ministry of ICT to launch and implement the digital transformation agenda. And I want to assure you, we are going to do our role of looking for the money and get it in the budget. Because number one in our strategy, now the 10-fold growth strategy, which I wanted now to come to and inform Ugandans that we are not comfortable with where we are. Much as we've grown, as I've told you, we feel the potential is much higher. We can get bigger. In the next 15 years, we need this economy to get to $500 billion. It's now $53 billion. Now, to perform this miracle, we need certain new emerging sectors like digital. like IT. And we know it's one of the best bets. So, as a ministry, we are looking at how do we support ICT in the new agenda. In the past, we've talked about it. Lip service. We'd want to see more resources going in. But to do that, we need clarity on what exactly needs to be funded and how. Then because now the only thing we've been doing best is to deepen the broadband, the backbone infrastructure. We've brought money, we've extended the backbone. That's why you see that now everywhere in Uganda you go, you will get internet. In some places, still weak.
Yes.
We want to get there and strengthen it. But knowing where we are coming from now, we are almost there. That one we are going to continue doing. But we want also to invest in the younger people with the brains to utilize this now infrastructure. And that means investing more in innovation fund, investing more in those who are into innovation village, and supporting the ecosystem so that we can be able to create more and more innovators in the IT arena. And our job, as I've told you, is to get resources and provide it.
Okay. Now we're going to the lighter part of the Ugandan podcast, where I usually would like to get to know our guest a little bit more. What makes you Ugandan? And in this one, I'll first start with just one thing that over the years, as we speak of money-making ventures, one that has possibly had you shake your head and say, but this Ugandan, what business idea have you had or have you seen? And you are like, this Ugandan is on another level.
I don't know where to start. And, I had a friend, unfortunately, he passed on. He was a military general. He told me that whenever you find a serious Ugandan, please call me. And I've always looked at serious Ugandans. There are some young innovators who are really getting that aha moment, and you get it. And I've seen a number of them. I didn't ask for permission to mention them. I will not mention them. But I like younger people who are innovative. And quietly, I've supported a few. Two, I like especially women who go into making money for themselves and disobey this patriarchy and become very successful entrepreneurs. I've also seen a number of them. Some have been family friends, and I've seen a number of those in Uganda. But I like most, and I preserved it for the last, industrialists. I find industrialists amazing because they are creating more value than anyone else. So wherever there is an industrialist, manufacturer, I take them very seriously.
Okay. On to the creative arts. What would you say is your favorite Ugandan song and why?
Favorite?
Yeah. Oh, that has you laughing here or there when you listen to it.
I'm a DJ every Friday.
Really?
Yeah.
We did not know.
That's
Where?
something which, no, you can't know.
It's a small circle.
A small community of friends where we have, and I'm the DJ.
Okay, so you as the DJ, what is that one song that does not maybe miss out on a playlist every 3 weeks?
We have a national anthem, but I will not mention it. We call it a national anthem because
it often
the one which
plays?
Starts the music and also ends the day.
Okay.
But the number, Ugandans are amazing, by the way. They are producing very good music. I like music. All categories of music, except noise, maybe. those who don't sing and make noise. No.
Would you mention an artist who makes noise?
No, I can't do
But-
that. But I'm sure you know some.
Yes, I do. Yeah. So that other song that's not the anthem.
You should spare me on this one. I have all these artists are my friends.
Okay.
I don't want to make them feel that I favor the other one, but I like Ugandan music.
Okay, at least we have gotten to know that in your free time you are DJ here and there. But now on to food. You have tried the Rolex?
Yes.
Have you tried the
yes.
different versions of the Rolex? You know, these days we can put like
I
chicken in the
only
Rolex.
like one with the eggs and
Nyanyambisi.
just eggs and the onions and tomato. No, not
You don't like the tomato
no,
in the...
No.
But now as the Ugandan, because I know there are a number of Ugandans who are going to listen to this and say, how? But it's okay, as long as you like the Rolex.
Yes.
Any other local food that you do like?
Our food, yes.
Luombo.
Matoka and luombo. Yeah.
Any kind of luombo? Or
Absolutely. Any
Okay.
luombo is good, but I think groundnuts better.
I think so too. With some beef or
No,
some fish?
with
Just
the maybe mushroom.
akatiko.
Yes.
Okay, I agree on that one. It's a nice one. And the very last question is, which place in Uganda have you visited and you find that you're drawn to it? Maybe 4 or 5 times you have found yourself going back there. What part of Uganda would that be?
I think Lake Bunyonyi. I find it amazing that it holds all that beauty there.
I will smile so proudly because, yes, someone who has come from Chigezi, I can say it's a very beautiful lake. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, so I am biased on this one, but would like to say thank you so much for joining us on the Ugandan podcast. I think it's been an amazing particular episode because we have tried to get away from the numbers when it comes to everything to do with the Ministry of Finance. And we've just demystified what maybe has been brought up by the naysayers in one way or another. So thank you once again for joining us on the Ugandan podcast.
Always a pleasure.
And for you who has listened or has watched this one, remember to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, keep it Ugandan.